Welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime Review. This is part 3B. Yeah, this is a continuation of the previous part, which I had to end because I had to leave to go someplace. But now I'm back, and I'm going to continue where I left off. Well, basically, after pretty much doing the 5 duels between, the big 5, they later on basically had it where the fourth guy, the one who actually did lose, but he took Tristan's body, even though that the explanation for it, I'll explain in a minute, they decided to do something quite interesting. They decided to have all 5 of those guys fight in one body, all take turns, and these 5 fought in the body against Tristan's body against Yugi and Joey. And they even brought in their 5-headed dragon they had from the previous arc, which I was a little surprised they were able to summon the thing. And it took a while, but they did eventually beat it. There was like a couple more duels after this one. One, of course, was a really awesome duel between, first it was Noah versus Kaiba, a match Kaiba was not able to finish due to the fact he collapsed. And also they show off where exactly Noah, the real Noah actually is. Yeah, the version they were seeing is just an avatar. The real Noah is basically a brain inside of a, like a robot. Yeah, because he got put in there after he apparently died, even though he probably is in a coma. This by far is probably one of the best duels, probably the best duel of the entire arc in a way. Probably like one of the the best one. And then of course because Kaiba collapsed, he was able to finish. So Yugi stepped in, took Kaiba's deck, merged it with his, and just fought Noah. And this is probably one of the more longer duels. This one took like 5 episodes to do. Yeah, the other thing is whenever Kaiba duels people one-on-one, it has had to go maybe a couple episodes at most, but whenever he teams with anybody, it goes longer. Yeah. Let's see. How long did this duel with Noah last? Well, I feel like it lasted for a while. Let's see. How long did it last for? Let's see. The one when they fought the Big 5, it took up 3 episodes. The the duel between Yugi, now Kaiba versus Noah, and of course the next duel, which is continuing this one. This took basically, even though it was like a 3-parter and a 2-parter, it was essentially put a 5-part duel, but it was the second longest duel of the whole entire season. Yep. And yeah. And they had pretty much like a few episodes just to wrap this thing up. Now, probably the weakest duel of the entire arc is probably Gozaburo Kaiba versus Seto Kaiba. This is probably by far the weakest duel of the whole entire season, because it was just okay. It just basically Gozaburo, and he's apparently a virus somehow. Yeah, he apparently went same procedure to his biological son went through, and basically became a giant flaming monster. Yeah, as what happened afterwards, a little more exciting than this duel. This duel was probably one of the most boringest duels of the entire thing. It just, he summons Negro Exodia, and basically this is like his only monster he summons of the entire duel. Exodia Necros, which basically is the 5 Exodia cards sent to the graveyard. Oh, and the duel arena they're fighting in? Yeah, it's a recreation of the same duel arena Yugi fought Kaiba in the pilot episode. That, I thought, was probably the best thing about this whole episode. Despite the fact you have it where, after defeating the Big 5, and of course Noah, basically they're trying to escape. Oh, and it's explained, though, that with the whole thing of the Big Hole, the 7 of them were all knocked out and put into capsules. Simply put, this scene was a ripoff of The Matrix. The only difference is it's 7 people, basically a small group of people hooked up to a computer, instead of a whole planet full of people hooked up to a computer. It's like they ripped this thing off from The Matrix. That's what it seemed like to me. Which some people probably would think this is probably a weak thing to do, but it's an okay revelation. Because this is kind of what they did in the first one. They had to go into this tube, strap in, and fight in the duel. That's simply what they did. And they also had this brief thing where Noah briefly left the virtual reality in Mokuba Kaiba's body, and of course went back in. Oh, and what was Merrick up to? Not a lot. He basically just wandering around the Noah's fortress with nobody to stop him, takes out one of the machines. Probably the most, I mean, whenever they cut to him, it was probably the most interesting thing. One of the most interesting things that happened of the entire thing. What he was doing is probably the best thing happening, aside from the whole thing with Yugi. Him just wandering around. It's like, ooh, what can I do to wreck this place? Because I want to fight the Pharaoh. And this guy's stealing my thunder. Yeah, it's probably one of the most oddest things to happen, where the main villain of the previous season, who's going to be continuing, who's actually one of the show's villains, he just wandered around this villain's base, and the only thing to stop him is a group of weak robots he takes out so easily with his Millennium Rod, which, and I kept thinking though this whole time, why didn't Noah invite him to come into the virtual reality? I don't know, maybe he was a plot hole or something, but it would have been interesting though if Noah actually met Merrick. It's like, hey, we have two enemies in common. Well, his enemy is the Kaiba brothers, while Merrick, it's the Pharaoh. Though he doesn't know anything about the Pharaoh anyways. It would have been interesting if these two ever interacted, but these two never did. Noah kind of knew that somebody was wrecking his fortress, but he didn't know it was actually Merrick. Yeah, he never knew anything about it. And then they all get out, basically, and here's the thing. The access to the virtual reality is basically the virtual reality version of Kaiba Corp headquarters in Domino City. Yeah, that's how they got out. How did Yugi and Kaiba get out? They jumped off building into a portal, and they all got out, and the place was like falling apart anyways. And the blimp basically was trapped, so they got out, and then here comes Gozaburo Kaiba in this gigantic flame cloud. He's like, oh, I'm gonna stop you, something like that, yeah. And Kaiba's like, I'm taking control of the ship. He smashes something on the control panel, and basically turns the blimp into like a big, humongous rocket ship and blasts his way right to Kaiba Corp Island. Only it is, let's just forget that ever happened. And as for the big fire themselves, after they lost to Yugi and Kaiba, Joey and Yugi, they got sent to they got sent to the far reach of cyberspace, and these five were never heard from again in the show. Alright? And then we have the what was promoted in the, remember kids that we did this, back to the Battle City. Yeah, well, they go to Kaiba Corp Tower. This particular tower, which was actually, this island used to be where they built all the weapons factories, because Kaiba Corp used to be a weapons manufacturer before Kaiba turned it into a game company. So, he tore down all the buildings and had what remained of those buildings built this gigantic duel tower, which is where the Battle City finals would take. Now, the final duels would take place at this particular tower. And they go inside, it's like this crammed room. And the four finalists, which were Joey, Yugi, Kaiba, and Eomeric, they all got into this thing that basically where this is an interesting concept. Like every time these guys lost life points, they go up. And anybody saw the promotion of this particular duel, which took up, I think, how many episodes take up this four-way duel? This took up exactly 3 episodes. Yeah, 3 episodes. Yep. That's how long it took up. 3 episodes. And during the promotion for this, it was shown that Slifer the Sky Dragon was swirling around the tower. Like, somehow Yugi had summoned it for some reason. I remember this very well, where they kept showing that Slifer the Sky Dragon was going to be inside the tower and probably threatening one of the duelists. And by the way, this never happened. At all. Yugi never summoned Slifer the Sky Dragon inside this very thing. And it's some very funny lines. It's like, oh, you have where one particular turn where Yugi, Merrick, and Kaiba basically used up all their monsters and their magic cards. And Joey's like, who should I attack? Well, they don't want to attack Yugi because he's his friend. It's like, I could attack Merrick, but nah, I'll attack the rich boy instead. And he sends his monster directly after Seto Kaiba says, like, yeah, he says, attack the rich boy's life points. It's probably the most funniest thing. It's one of the most funniest lines of the whole season. Yeah. And they all keep going up, and basically most of the time it's just Yugi and Joey team up with each other. On an occasion, at least once of this whole entire duel, you have it's where Merrick and Kaiba team up. even though it's a 4-way duel to figure out who would face each other in the next round of the playoffs. And they determine it basically. Joey did this on purpose. Basically, we have it where you have him versus Merrick and Yugi versus Kaiba. Now, in the case of this particular duel, for a single duel, I don't count the mind control duel. This is actually Joey's first, I think it was his first ever 4-part duel. Yeah, this duel took up 4 episodes. And Joey barely survived this duel. Heck, there was at one point where there were no monsters in the field. He was about to attack, and he collapsed. And Merrick was automatically declared the winner, despite the fact Joey was virtually out of life points. Now, in the case with Mai, we was trying to erase her memories. In the case of Joey, was trying to basically strip him of all his energy. Yeah, that was the big difference between this duel and that one. So, yeah, Merrick wins. And then comes the longest duel of the entire series. And they actually changed it up a bit because, well, because only for some strange reason, just Yugi and Kaiba were up in this, or up dueling. Mostly everyone else except for Merrick was off in the blimp, basically trying to save Joey, who had fallen into virtually a coma. Kind of similar to what happened with Mai, and Odeon basically goes unconscious. Now, I forgot to mention this, but there was one point where Merrick was going to kill Merrick. Merrick was going to kill Odeon, though basically he was going to shadow him by his body, but he was moved because the good Merrick, who took over Taya, basically had him moved to a different room. So Joey, for some strange reason, was put in Mai's room, right next to her. Oh, and she stays in this bed the whole entire season, the whole entire thing. And while this is going on, you have Yugi versus Kaiba. And it's probably by far the best duel, probably one of the best duels of the whole series. Though by far the longest one being 6 episodes. I mean, wow. This is basically Yugi versus Kaiba round 3. And this was a monster of a duel. It's like they threw everything at each other until finally Yugi won. And then after this, they had the battle for the bronze. Excuse me. Yeah, that's basically what they would call this thing. Yeah, that's what it's promoted as. It's a quick little 3-part duel between Kaiba and Joey, which is basically the second duel they've had in this series. And this duel was, even though Joey lost, he did a lot better job than he did last time because he put up a pitiful performance during his last duel. Heck, even Kaiba put, man, you're terrible at dueling me. And then, like, they have their ultimate rematch, like, who would get 3rd place at this particular, because Kaiba lost because he's so bitter that he lost against Yugi because he really wanted to win his own damn tournament. So he beats Joey, gets the bronze, even though that Joey probably got 4th place anyways. It was one of the more interesting duels. I'm sure that he probably got Kaiba's respect, even though Kaiba did beat him. He probably did to himself, man, Joey did a lot better. He's got a lot more stronger than last time I fought him. And then, of course, we have the duel that pretty much closed out this whole season. Final Face-Off, which took 5 episodes. Yeah, this is by far, at this point, Yugi's longest duel of the entire series. Yeah, these two fight back and forth. It's his second longest one he's had. Of course, he just fought another one for 6 episodes. So, they fight on top of the tower, and takes a while, but eventually, basically, and he does something very similar to what he did with his duel with Iwabakura, where every time he loses life points, part of his body gets sent to the Shadow Realm. Yeah, pretty much he did the same exact thing here, though this time he was doing it to regular Yugi, and eventually they decided to have it where good Merrick and bad Merrick switch places. And there was at one point, basically, where good Merrick had 1 life point left. Eventually, they sent the evil Merrick to the Shadow Realm. And it's like, okay, you have 1 life point left. What are you going to do? So he just puts his hand on top of his life point meter and just automatically reaches 0. Yugi wins, becoming the Battle State champion. And Kaiba's like, okay, congratulations, you won the Battle State tournament. You can get your rare cards later. He's like, before this duel, he was going to blow up this island before this duel even happened. And then eventually he does. Him and Mokuba go down below and basically just blow up the island. And sent the island to self-destruct. And they basically leave the island and a Blue Eyes White Dragon plane. Which, by the way, he does reuse this thing in the he does reuse it in the Falling Season, I think once, and he does use it during the Millennium arc. He does use it a couple of times after this, but at least you have somebody to explain. Hey, like if you watch if you skip over the next, if you don't watch this episode, the episode where introduces this plane, which Kaiba uses, it's basically like a fighter jet, but basically Blue Eyes White Dragon theme. But yeah, so they get off. Now they had ordered a helicopter because Joey was basically in serious trouble with his medical health, so they called a helicopter. And apparently and during the whole time, Kaiba, when Yugi and Merrick went off in their duel, eventually they all got up there, and Tristan got him out of his coma. And after everybody returned from the Shadow Realm, like Bakura got back from the Shadow Realm, Mai returned back, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're gonna fight to get me back?" "Yeah, I'm back." Yeah, she heard pretty much everything, despite the fact she was faking at that point being still a coma. And she thought it was cute the fact that she thought it was adorable the fact that Joe would fight for her. Yeah. So yeah, they all get in the helicopter and leave. Now they can't. Apparently, they try to get the blimp to lift off because the island's about to self-destruct. But apparently the engines were damaged because what happened in the previous arc, where that cloud thing, which was Gozo Bro Kaiba, damaged the engines. So they use a helicopter to get out of there, and they go back to New Domino City. Everyone goes their separate ways. Yeah. And then the season ends with a off-screen duel between Yugi and Joey, which somehow later on they reveal, oh, apparently Joey won the duel, and he got back his Red Eyes Black Dragon. But the thing is, this particular duel is the only one never you get a chance to see the actual itself. But it was kind of like a nice way to end the season. And if the series ended right here and they had not done the Millennium World stuff, this would have been a great way to end the series. But yeah. Was there anything else I forgot? Well, that's kind of what they did basically for the second last episode. The final episode, which is a clip show of basically everything I've gone in the series up to that point. Just basically, I think it's just Taya and Serenity. Yeah, it's Taya and Serenity going around the city talking about the duels, the Battle State Tournament, which was really good. But yeah, as for Serenity herself, after the season concludes, Serenity is never seen again in the series except for like one phone call that Joey makes, I think, in the next season. But otherwise, though, Serenity is never seen again in the series. She's mentioned a couple times after this. Mai herself does come back in the next season. I don't think she comes back in season 5. Not that I can think of, no. Duke, on the other hand, does come back for the next season, and I believe the following season as well. Let's see what else. But yeah, season 3 was really good. Not like a lot of people who didn't like the Virtual Reality Arc that took up the first half of the season. I really enjoyed the Virtual Reality Arc. I thought it was really good. Nice distraction from the Battle City, but it didn't come completely out of nowhere. I mean, yeah, the ending of the previous season did kind of lead into this in a way, even though they kind of see the Kabucorp Island. I should point out, though, the person who did the Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge series is Little Karibo, who has done some playthroughs as well. But as far as I've heard, his Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge series was taken down. I think he had faced various copyright strikes, and he had to take the videos down. I have seen some of them. I've seen the ones that he did where he did a bridge version of the first 2 seasons and the start of the 3rd season, but I couldn't get any further. I watched these things on the Yu-Gi-Oh! The Wiki site, which had the videos on there, surprisingly. And these were absolutely hilarious, but it's like he just fast-forwarded through duels pretty quickly and had some of the duels where they, instead of holding like regular cards, they have like drawing just so you can get to the duel quickly. But they were hilarious. I mean, people know about Dragon Ball Z Bridge and how hilarious that is. I've watched a good chunk. I've watched like the first few seasons of that, and that's really good. And Team Force does that one. I do recommend if you can ever find them. If you ever did get a chance to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge, or at least if you can find Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge, I highly recommend you find it. It's really funny. But at this point in the series for Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's gone really well. Plus, also, I gotta mention this. Merrick does show off what's on his back, basically. They kind of hint at it, basically, and what's on his back? It's the same exact thing that's on the stone tablet that's at the museum, which, by the way, they still keep at the museum for the next couple seasons. That you do see briefly at the start of the next season, and definitely during the final season of the show. But as for the Ishtar family, the three of them, they are never seen again in the series ever again until the final arc of the series. They skip the next couple arcs. But it would have been interesting, though, if she's ever developed an attraction to Kaiba. I mean, if you look at Kaiba, I mean, no woman ever wanted to basically be with him at all. Especially since almost every woman he interacted with in the series, he basically disrespected them. Let's see. The only woman I can think of he ever interacted with was Taya. And the only one he did not interact with was Mai. I think he barely interacted with her at all. The only one I can think of he never interacted with was Serenity. I mean, he probably saw her. He never talked to her. Probably because she's the sister of a guy he doesn't really like very much. I mean, he probably hates Joy a lot more than he hates Yugi. But yeah. Of course, I'll get to how he's depicted in the third film when I get up to it. Yeah. Otherwise, though, good season. As for Picori himself, I gotta mention this, he does not make an appearance. He skips next season. He's not seen again until the final arc of the series, which is Millennium World. So he skips next couple arcs. Let's see. Kaiba is seen in the next several arcs as well. He does come back in the next arc. He doesn't do very much next arc, but I'll get to it in a minute. I'll get to part 4. Excuse me. Let's see. The main four just come back. Duke is present next season. As far as I can tell, I think he does come back for the final arc, like toward the end of it, he doesn't participate in it. Otherwise, though, really interesting season. Exciting as the previous two. And basically, now I'm going to talk, the next season is going to be about the, it's basically considered the Darts arc, which basically, the season 4 is one entire arc, it's kind of fillerish. For some people, they don't like, they like this one less than the Virtual Reality arc, because it's a filler season. But I'll get a chance to talk about it. It's one of the more darker seasons of the show, but I'll get a chance to talk about it and get a chance to in part 4, okay? But that's it for this one. Stay tuned for part 4. Well, I'll definitely talk about season 4. But yeah, more videos to come. Bye.